It's Garth. #1 this week back in 1991. And now here he is, Entertainer of the Year once again. And rightly so.
I remember hearing that song for the first time in London, England, believe it or not. I was over there on a business trip, and I was in a hotel, and he was doing a concert over in Ireland or something like that. They had broadcast that on TV, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I had really never heard much about Garth Brooks until then, and that song came on. I go, wow, that's an awesome song. Of course, that song was written by Billy Joel, but still, his performance was spectacular. It is winter. It is winter. I got a bunch of guys up here hunting, is my guess. But I have to do a chainsaw video to sort of cap off the last couple of days where I built those Farmertecs. The Farmertecs have eaten up more time than I really planned. And that's because the one that I had built with cross performance top end blew up, and then I put another bottom end underneath it, and it blew up again. Now, when it first came apart, the connecting rod to crank, that bearing, the rod bearing had come apart. So, you know, I blamed it on the crank. And when I put the new bottom end underneath it, I think I actually have it on video. I knew that crank was a good crank. Now, I'm going to start looking at other things. I have an idea. And if it is what I think it is, I am not going to be a happy camper. And you will see it on video. Trust me. But I need some logs to cut, you know. I've been down here. I guess I can go sushi up those logs again. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe for the purpose of this video, I'll just go cut those up again. See, instead of building Farmertec MS660s, I really wanted to spend the weekend out here. Well, there's that one. Alright, I don't feel like messing with cookies today. I just got so much to do, and I'm so far behind in getting wood down for even this year. But there's that old maple right there with a widowmaker up on top. I think I'm going to take that down. And I know that's kind of risky doing this all by yourself. I'm getting kind of older. But I see that widowmaker is far enough away from the base of the tree. And what I'll do is I'll have the tree fall into the field. I figure if I take that tree down and bust it down with those saws, at least it'll prove that it's a those two are solutions at this point in time. I can't tell you how annoyed I am at this right now. I probably shouldn't do a video in this state of mind. One thing I can tell you is the Farmertec folks have made some, I think, significant upgrades that are worth a look-see. You know, I don't have all of them here, but the ones of note, those are the old clutches, and they're kind of light. And they work all right, I suppose, but I've had spring failures on them. This is the one that I bought from Highway, obviously, and a little bit larger up there, a little heavier, but a different spring arrangement. The new one in the last box that I got from Farmertec looks an awful lot like that one right there. Definitely different than this one, with that same kind of a spring arrangement, which is closer to OEM. So that's a very significant upgrade. That, in addition to having the drums being a lot closer to being round. Now, I've already talked about the cylinder changes, you know, the squish band and the plating and stuff like that. Both these saws have got these updated cylinders, so we're going to find out pretty quick how they work. But that's a huge, huge upgrade to me, especially the plating, because I was always suspect on the plating on the older Farmertec cylinders, plus to those little dots they have on top in the combustion chamber. For whatever reason, they were hard. So when I wanted to trim the squish band, those things were a little bit of a problem. Another upgrade is these worm gears are coming assembled. I did have to touch the end with a die grinder to make them fit in the cases. But that's a minor, little thing to worry about. It looks like they're actually harder. I don't know that for a fact, but they really do look better. And instead of having the bar oil pumps with that arrangement right there, they're coming with these ends plugged like that, where you don't need that goofy little piece of rubber that sometimes falls out. So the oil pumps are upgraded. The whole oil pump assembly is upgraded. The covers have brass bushings now because those 3 little bushings were included in the kit, and that's an upgrade. These are the carburetors I don't like. And I've got one of these on the saw, and then one that I do. I don't have a spare because I've used them all. This saw right here has got the one that has the markings on it, and I was showing them in prior videos. You have to go back a year or so, but I did show them. And they seem to be coming more regular, in the kits. At least the last 2 kits I've seen had the newer carburetors. One thing I did notice also was the piston rings themselves in these new kits seem to be a lot stiffer. Maybe a different material, possibly. I guess the point is that these things in the past were sort of a moving target. We made fun of it because it was kind of hit and miss. Sometimes you got good stuff and sometimes not. Well, now they're a moving target again, but from what I've seen from these last 2 kits, the target is moving in our direction, the right way. So I'm cautiously optimistic that continues. So what I'm going to do now is try to get them started. I'm going to clean out around that tree and try to drop that tree and then use these saws to actually break it down. The chain brake linkages, the geometry is a little bit off. So these guys have to go way out further in order to engage the chain brakes. And these handles are just junk. Just get rid of them. The Highway brand from HL Supply, they've got those handles for like $35. A replacement handle that works really well. My suggestion is to immediately get those. And where I used to say immediately get the clutch and drum, I'm not saying do that anymore because the last couple I've seen have been pretty good. These are not leaking. So it looks like there's a change in the plastic there. So little things like that are beginning to add up to make these a more complete and useful kit. Anyway, I better get to work. I don't have a lot of time today. I gotta get back and help my wife finish the sheetrock in our living room. I did not plan on spending 2 days of saw construction. But
the goal for this saw. This is hard maple. So I think this one passed its test. You see how low the fuel is on that? That's about where you want to stop the saw and load it up so you don't start running lean with the thing. Here's my brake hand and test. Put about a tank through it, cleaned out around the tree, took the tree down. That's hard maple. I only hit one nail, so I felt pretty good, because usually, actually it was probably barbed wire. Because usually when I get into these hedgerow trees, it's carnage on the blades. One thing I do have to say is, even in that configuration, it's got good power. You know, it runs the way a 90cc saw should run. The question is, how long is it going to run? Now, I feel pretty good about that saw. The saw that I took the tree down with, this one here, was not the one that was on the video. It was the one I did prior to the video. And that saw was built with the parts that had come off the wreck that I was able to salvage. And half the case came from a damaged saw, and the other half came from a blemish set of cases that had casting holes in it. And that worked. It ran pretty good. You know, I'm kind of curious to see how long it lasts. Now, this is the saw that I did in the video, and this is the one I have the higher hopes for reliability. So I'm going to go put a tank through it, just breaking down that top some. What I can say about this is, once it got warmed up, it was easy to restart. You know, the starts and restarts was fine. I had to tweak the carburetor a little bit to get it to idle. You know, that one has the carburetor that I do not like. This one has the carburetor that I do like. You know, this has got the clutch pack that I'm not fond of. You know, and so it doesn't have the best parts, but it obviously works. It too was one that I had to relieve the chain brake handle in order to get the chain brake to work. But this one right here is one that was built on the video. Apologize for the mislabeling. And let me go put some time on it. This is starting after sitting out all night at somewhere around 20 to 25 degrees in the truck. So you're seeing it fired up cold. Oh, that ain't good. Runs good, but I gotta figure out why that's doing that. I sure don't want to have to put a whole new handle on it. So back to the garage. Like the detent's off or something. It just goes right to off. That's a new one. Now I've got two issues going on with this saw that I gotta look at. One is the clutch bearing is sounding dry. I thought it was the pull start. It wasn't. It's the clutch bearing. And the other is this on-off switch. And of course, you know, I just brought it out to run it, you know, give it a test. So you're seeing pretty much real time the kind of things you've got to fight with in order to make these work. Now, what's going on with the on-off switch? See how it just hops right over that, like that piece right there is a problem. Yeah, see, that's the way it should be. So what it is, looks to me like that part right there. All right, how hard is it to remove that part? It looks like I have to take this whole piece off, which means the carburetor has to come out, which means I've got to drain the fuel, pull the carburetor. You know that? By the way, remember I was saying that you don't want to let that, see how that filter sits up like that? It doesn't settle down into the tank. They're all that way. And that's why you don't want to run them too low on fuel, because it starts sucking air pretty quick. So what it looks like to me is I really have to change the handle. Okay, Matt came and took the other saw, so I didn't get a chance to show you it on video to completion, but we did in fact complete it. So this is the one that came apart, and I'm not sure what the problem is. It goes to stop hard, stop hard. So something inside on the piston is interfering. Oh man. And I think what we're looking at here, I think we have a bore alignment issue. I don't think that bore is true to the cylinder base. And that would explain why I was getting differential squish measurements. And it would explain why I'm looking at that right there. Now also, if that bore is out of alignment, it's going to really stress the rod bearing. I really think the only way of me testing that though is to set it up on the lathe and just see how true it is. This cylinder has killed 2 saws. Yeah, there's a huge difference. I was getting 3.2 on one side, I'm getting 3.214 on the other. Whether it's just bad karma or a defective part, that damn thing has cost me 2 weekends. I am not pleased. You know, I would have figured that my Farmer Jones build and a bunch of others would have failed long before this one did. This one was supposed to be a premium build. To the point where I actually took that cylinder and built a whole new bottom end up for it, and it blew that up too. Common denominator, that. 2 cranks. The first one I blamed on Farmertec, the second one I'm not. The second one I'm blaming on the top end. And I think the first one was really the top end as well. Like I said, I think what I'm looking at here is a bore alignment issue.